Greetings, Avalon Church. It's so good to be speaking with you today via live stream video. I'm Brad Brinkley, and I currently chair the eldership of Avalon Church. I'm privileged to be joining our pastor today, Chris McCarthy, to hold our first virtual town hall meeting of 2020. Jay Coulter, one of our deacons and chair of our missions committee, will also be joining us later to provide an important missions update. We had originally hoped to be doing this in person, along with some delicious ice cream sundaes, but unfortunately the pandemic has put a kink in those plans. We have some important topics to cover today. Even though we haven't been meeting corporately and physically at the church building, lots of things have been happening, some good and some, unfortunately, that are disappointing. However, we know God is good and all things happen for a reason. Your leadership is trusting in God to lead us so that when this pandemic is over, our church will be stronger and better than ever. First and foremost, I want to express my appreciation to our staff. They have done a fantastic job of adjusting to the times and acclimating to the new normal. We are truly blessed to have such talented individuals leading our church, and we are confident that we are reaching more people through our live stream than we ever could have by just worshiping in a physical building. We placed a banner in front of the church advertising our weekly live stream, so that those families living behind the church are aware of this opportunity to worship with us. Secondly, I want to thank you, our wonderful congregation, for answering the call to give sacrificially to the kingdom's work here at Avalon Church. I will admit that your eldership was a bit nervous when our services went virtual and our offerings started trending downwards. But I'm ecstatic to report that our congregation's giving has exceeded our expectations over the last few weeks. All praise and honor and glory go to our God. We are so thankful for his faithfulness and yours. I encourage you to continue giving faithfully as we have lots of kingdom work to do. Now let's get started as we have lots of information to share with you today. We wanted to let you know that Christian Financial Resources held a webinar back in early March recommending that all churches take advantage of the government's Paycheck Protection Program, which I'll be referring to as the PPP. This was being made available to all small businesses and nonprofits, like churches. They stated that even though some churches were doing quite well financially, no one but the Lord knows what the future holds. They stated that most churches had already received funds from the Small Business Administration. The elders struggled somewhat with this decision, but decided after much prayer and fasting that we'd apply for no more than 2 months of average salaries. Then we put it in God's hands. There are still lots of businesses that have not received these funds, but I am happy to say that God has blessed us with these funds. The good news is that if the church maintains 75% of our projected salaries over a 2-month period, the funds would constitute a grant, not a loan from the SBA. This was truly a team effort as we worked through this process with Town Bank for the PPP. I want to personally thank Stephanie Balsamo, who worked with Gail Sorgentruber on not only completing the various applications, but also doing the financial calculations necessary for this request. A couple of our trustees were involved, Dennis Berry and Larry Dowdy, and Chris McCarthy stressed that timing was of the essence. Our initial plan was to place these funds, which amounted to $37,800, on deposit with CFR at a rate of 3% and only use if needed. However, several things have occurred that have necessitated we now use these funds as intended for staff salaries the next 2 months. The money we would have normally utilized for salaries would be directed to the following areas of need. Because these projects are over $5,000, we will need congregational approval to divert monies for these causes. Within the last couple of weeks, someone has vandalized 4 air conditioning units outside our church building. They essentially destroyed these units for the copper wiring. A police report has been filed, and the building team has notified our insurance company. Our HVAC service, White Goods, has provided the church with a proposal to replace 2 units that were destroyed and repair 2 units. Our expectation is that they'll cover most, if not all, the expenses. Our out-of-pocket would be a $1,000 deductible. We're currently waiting on confirmation from the insurance company to see what our total out-of-pocket cost will be. This is really more for informational purposes, as we want to be as transparent as possible. The eldership has also been working with Thomas Steinhoff, the chairman of our deacons, and the head of our newly formed security team on upgrading the security of our church campus. We've gotten a couple of quotes, one from our current vendor, Coastal Security, to upgrade the intrusion detection system for our main building and also the children's building. We'd also add fire monitoring to both the children's building and our Family Life Center. Lastly, we'd like to install three security cameras, one on the front side of our main building, one on the back side, and one panning the areas around the children's building and the Family Life Center. We've been given a proposal for $6,211 max one time and a total of $255 per month for the monitoring of our church. This is an additional $155 increase over what we are paying today. But the eldership and our security team is recommending we do these things to properly protect our church campus. As a side note, we are getting a second bid from a competitive solution and will choose the best option for the church. Lastly, the staff and eldership are starting to think about when and how we can start having Sunday services at Avalon. More information will be forthcoming on this from our staff, but we feel very strongly that we should continue live streaming our Sunday morning services on YouTube and Facebook when back in the building. There are countless people in our community and across the world that will never grace the doors of a church, but will join a live stream from the comfort of their homes. As we stated earlier, we feel strongly that we are reaching countless people with the message of Jesus Christ that we otherwise might not have reached during this pandemic. Chris and staff have estimated that to implement the necessary equipment to provide a professional presentation would cost approximately $7,000. The eldership is recommending that we move forward with these expenditures in lieu of recent events, and we'll be asking the congregation to vote on approving these expenditures next week. Your leadership is just amazed at how God continues to work during this pandemic. Even though there has been tragedy, and our hearts and prayers go out to those that are sick and or those that have lost loved ones, He continues to direct events and circumstances not only in the world, but in our nation and at Avalon Church. He has blessed us with the PPP funds, and He has blessed us our finances through your sacrificial giving. He has blessed Avalon's outreach through our live stream, and we continue to ask for His wisdom and guidance as we look for opportunities to spread the gospel outside the four walls of this church. The Great Commission is our marching orders, and our goal is to be obedient to His direction. We sense and feel His leading and are truly optimistic about our future. We know that many of you might have questions concerning the Paycheck Protection Program funds and the requested expenditures. At the end of our town hall, we will provide you with the means to ask questions and or voice concerns. We will try and answer those as quickly as possible and before next week's vote. Please be patient with us as we don't know what to expect and the volume of questions. God bless you and your family, and know that the care team, our staff, our elders and deacons are praying for our flock daily. Please reach out to us if any of you all have a need or prayer concern, or if a prayer concern should arise. We love you, we miss you, and ask that you please stay safe. I will now turn it over to Chris McCarthy, who has some important news to share concerning our staff as we move forward into 2020. And then he'll turn it over to Jay to close our town hall with a missions update. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. This trial the world has been going through has truly been a make-or-break time for local churches. And I'm happy to share that God is making Avalon into a stronger community. Primarily, I feel that the bond between eldership and staff has grown stronger than I've ever experienced, even in the 4 years that I've been serving here. Our mission as a church is to lead all people to a transforming relationship with Jesus. And we're seeing transformation and growth happen from top to bottom in our church. All the way from our eldership, spending hours on Zoom over the past month, praying, planning, and dreaming about what God's doing here, down to an individual member of Avalon with health concerns that often kept her from being able to join us on Sunday mornings, but is now hosting watch parties of our Sunday morning live stream on Facebook, inviting friends and family from her neighborhood and even out of state. Transformation has affected even our staff in both predictable and unpredictable ways. Transformation and transition go hand in hand, so my role in today's update is to announce some of those transitions that will be taking place over the next few weeks with our staff. First, it's with mixed emotions that I share with you our children's director, Jerry Windsor, will be stepping away from her part-time role. May 24th will be her last Sunday serving in the backyard. This is a decision that she's made for herself and her family. As many of you are aware, Jerry began this year already working a full-time role in a part-time capacity. And she and I have talked at length about it over the phone, and though it's one of the toughest decisions she's had to make in her life, I agree with her. It's the right thing for her work-life balance and most of all, relationship with Christ. We're going to miss her energy and passion with the backyard, but Jerry, myself, and the elders are hopeful that God has even greater things in store for that vital ministry in the days ahead. And in the meantime, one of Jerry's right-hand mamas in the backyard, Brittany Narvaez, has met with church leadership and agreed to serve as an interim director on a part-time capacity for the next 3 months. This will give us the time we need to ensure that we can find the right fit for a full-time director of children's ministry. And speaking of fit, many of you are aware that Christian Student Fellowship, known as CSF, a Christian church campus ministry on the campus of Old Dominion University, and Avalon have had a tight relationship, especially over the last 4 years. Crystal and I live in a campus house where she and Tyler Jackson also have worked together to make it twice the ministry it used to be when I left it to serve full-time at Avalon. And though it's a separate ministry run by one of our missions partners, College Ministries of Virginia, it's hard to know where Avalon ends and CSF begins. I'm happy to announce that it's going to become even more difficult, and here's why. Avalon leadership has offered the invitation to Tyler to leave his formal post at CSF and to join us as full-time associate minister. What has become more obvious now than ever is that Tyler has been a vital associate to me in ministering to Avalon, especially in this new normal that we've been facing. He's already been serving full-time for weeks on a part-time pay. And I'm asking you as senior minister to trust my belief that he is the right fit for this position. Meanwhile, Jeremy Ferguson, our student minister, feels that campus ministry will be a better fit for him at this time in his life. So Tyler will be leaving CSF formally to work full-time at Avalon, and Jeremy will be leaving Avalon formally to work full-time at CSF ODU. Neither are leaving Avalon as members. They're just transitioning the focus of their ministry to better fit the transformation they've each been experiencing in relationship with God and his people here at Avalon. Tyler will temporarily be overseeing the student ministry along with someone we believe will be a good fit as an interim and potentially permanent student minister. If things work out, we'll explain more on who that person is as soon as we can. I realize that all of this can be pretty confusing, but 2 things can help with that. First, this informational video will stay posted on our YouTube page for you to watch it as many times as needed. And secondly, we want to provide tons of opportunity for you to ask questions. If you have questions for Jeremy and Aaron, you can email Jeremy directly at jeremy@avalonchurch.com. And we'll also be hosting an online AMA, which means Ask Me Anything, with both Jeremy and Aaron this Tuesday at 7 p.m. If you have questions for Tyler, he will be on an AMA hosted by Bill Newton, one of our elders. This Thursday at 7 p.m. instead of our normal game night, Tyler will be doing the AMA. Or you can email Tyler directly at tyler@avalonchurch.com. Lastly, as Brad mentioned earlier, our elders are available to answer any of your questions also. And you can reach them at this address, elders@avalonchurch.com. Clarity is crucial. Without it, Satan can snake in and cause confusion and discord, messing up all the progress Avalon is making for the kingdom. So please take the time you need this week to ensure that that doesn't happen to you, because we need you. We're especially going to need you next Sunday, May 17th, at the end of our live stream when we ask you to vote, as our bylaws require, for approval of welcoming Tyler as a full-time associate minister and for the budget changes needed to enhance our media ministry and building security. We want to end this time on a high note. And God is not only bringing transformation to us, he's bringing it through us. So let me introduce Jay Coulter, leader of our missions team, who's going to share more about that.
Thank you, Chris and Brad. Avalon family, the missions committee has a few updates to share with you regarding our partners. We recently updated you on a few of our partners already during one of the AMAs hosted on Avalon's YouTube page, as well as during some of the services. These mainly included FAME, our medical evangelism partners, crisis pregnancy centers, locally here in Hampton Roads, Pioneer Bible Translators, Mountain Mission Grundy Mountain Mission School, and also Bethany Witherspoon. I'd like to start with general updates and appeals from 3 of our partners. First, Grundy Mountain Mission please keep Grundy Mountain Mission in your prayers as they have been directly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. They truly need our prayers in regards to this virus. They were planning to visit us at the end of this month, but this has been rescheduled to October 11th, 2020. They have had actual cases of COVID-19 on their campus, which has stretched the staff there that has to manage 200 kids. The committee will be looking into ways that we can reach out to them. Second, GMPI stands for Good News Productions International. They recently reported to us that they had an estimated 40 million viewership on an Easter program that they aired in India. GMPI visited us last year and we hosted a vision night for them, you may recall. They continue to be strong partners for us here at Avalon. Third, CICM stands for Central India Christian Missions. Sent us information on a campaign they have initiated to provide relief for families in India. They have reached out to us for assistance to provide for the physical needs of those whom they already invest in the spiritual needs of. You will hear more about that when we feature this appeal during our live stream next week. Fourth, Bethany Witherspoon. As you recently heard and saw in a video update during the sermon, Bethany Witherspoon has officially launched into mission work in Mexico, following her passion to invest in God's kingdom. And lastly, I'd like to end with an update on our newest mission partner, Jeremy Ferguson, who you know very well. He recently approached our committee and explained the calling he and Aaron were having towards college ministry. They love working with the students at Avalon, and they will miss them, though they're not going far. He has accepted a position with College Ministries of Virginia, specifically at ODU, where he'll be working alongside Crystal McCarthy. The committee decided to support him monthly, as well as provide him a one-time gift to help him in his fundraising efforts. Our church currently supports Crystal in her ministry there, and our support of Jeremy will be an addition to the local college ministry here at ODU. We are grateful for he and Aaron's service to God's kingdom here at Avalon. We are looking forward to know how the Lord will use this new partnership with Jeremy to reach our local area college-age students. And lastly, I'd like to thank the missions team that has been very vital into all of the work that has been going on to be very good stewards of the funds that the elders and the staff have allowed us to have to do these outreach missions and support them. They have made continual efforts to ensure that the missions team has felt encouragement for them and that their focus is still on missions, even though we have all these distractions during this time. And lastly, I'd like to welcome Brad back up to close us out.
Thanks, Chris and Jay. That's all we're going to share for now. I know it's a lot to digest, but once we've completed the called meeting and vote next week, we'll provide some updates on some reopening strategies leadership will be working on. We miss you. Again, we love you and praise God who's carried us through to this point. Until next time, family.